welcome to our event in July with Joyful. Let me just going to keep admitting people just to let you know that we are recording the session. So good morning to those that are just joining us. We'll kick off in a couple of minutes. Just kind of waiting for a few more people to come in. Morning to those that are joining us. Just to let you know that the session is being recorded. We're just going to give it to 32 minutes past and then we'll kick off.
Hi, Jazz.
Hello.
Hello.
Morning, Jazz. Feel free to have your cameras and mics on or cameras and mics off. Entirely up to you. Just give it a few more seconds if anyone else joins. Are you happy to kick off, Alice? And I'll let anyone else that comes in, come in.
Yeah. Did you want to do a little intro bit first? Or
yeah. So good morning, everybody. So it's Vicky from Plus Accounting, and this is part of our workshop program that we've been running over the last few years. So we try to do it sounds quite grim, but it's like a cradle to grave kind of theme throughout the year. But what it essentially means is that during the beginning part of the year, we look at kind of raising funds, finance, middle part, how to make the most of your business. So how to get the most efficiency and best chance of your business to succeed. And then towards the end of the year, we do look at kind of retirement and selling your business and how to get it in the best order to achieve that. So that's kind of the theme that we try to run throughout the year. And our July event is being hosted by the Joyful, Alice Reeves, and it's looking at marketing and the fundamentals that you need to have in place to have your business in the best position it should be. So over to you, Alice.
Thanks, Vicky. Hi, everyone. Good morning. As Vicky said, my name's Alice, and I am co-director of The Joyful. I've got a little intro slide next, Vicky, if you want to pop that up. So I am co-founder and owner of The Joyful with my business partner, Sophie Turton. Some of you may know us already, but we are brand and marketing experts for movers, shakers, and change makers. And what that means is we support businesses and business owners who are out for making positive change in the world. They want to shake up their industries, they want to have a positive impact on the world, and they want to use their brands in a positive way to effect change and make an impact. So today we're going to be talking about marketing strategy fundamentals, which is exactly what it says on the tin. So it's the core principles that make up a marketing strategy. So we're not going to be going massively into tactics today. Tactics are things like, Instagram reels, optimizing your website, blogging, podcasting. So tactics are all of kind of the ways in which you get your marketing messages out there. And with the pace of technology evolving, tactics and opportunities like that are changing all of the time. But I've worked in marketing now for the last 12 years, and the fundamental principles of how to plan a marketing strategy really don't tend to change that much. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And obviously we're coming into August now. And I don't know if it's because it's ingrained in me as a child, but I always find the summer is a really, really good time to take a step back and plan. The days are lighter. We kind of generally feel more optimistic, more positive, and I think in my head, September will always be like the start of the next kind of academic year. So as we come into August, if you know that your marketing strategy needs an overhaul, this is a really, really good time to be thinking about that. And hopefully what's in this presentation today is going to give you some tools and some direction for taking a step back and really looking at your marketing and how you can make it even more powerful over the coming, over the next year. So we're going to be looking at getting the right messages in front of the right people, attracting your ideal clients, building loyal customer communities, ways in which you can create and promote your content that has impact, and nurturing people through your buyer journey. And then also fundamentally understanding what goals you need to be tracking. So what are the kind of core overarching metrics to be looking at so that you know whether your marketing is making the impact that you want it to make. So first of all, let's start off with audience personas. Now, I'm guessing that most of you have heard of an audience persona. You may have created them, you may know what they are, but have never created one for yourself. But they are really the first place to start with a marketing strategy, because all of the content you're going to be creating, all of the messages you're going to be putting out there are for your audience. They are for humans, they're for people. So before you start any planning, you really, really want to make sure you have a strong sense of who your customers are, how they behave, and what content is likely to resonate with them. So in a nutshell, a persona is a detailed description of a fictional person who represents your target audience. And by that, they embody broadly, generally, the characteristics of a specific segment of your customers. So there is no right or wrong way to make customer personas. If you Google how to build a customer persona, there will be like hundreds and hundreds of different templates with different elements in for how to do it. So, you know, my philosophy with this stuff is never prescriptive. It's always find the template that works for you, that works for your business, and that gives you the information that you need to plan your content. So persona descriptions can include all sorts of things. Obviously, most commonly, there'll be demographics, so kind of age, gender, location, income. Then thinking about interests as well. So, you know, what do they like doing? What do they enjoy? What content are they interested in? Any kind of behavioral traits that they might have. Any kind of, you know, what are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? How can you help them achieve them? But a core part of any persona description is thinking about their challenges and their pain points, because the most effective marketing speaks to your audience's biggest challenges, to their hesitations. It provides something of value to help them on the way to achieving their goals, to make their lives easier, to reassure them, to give them the information that they're looking for. So it really has to help them overcome a challenge or an issue or a barrier or a blocker that they have in some way. And you also kind of want to think about their buying patterns as well. And we'll come on to buyer journeys in more detail later, but there is no kind of prescriptive thing to include within your personas. It's anything that is going to be relevant to you, to your business, and to your customers. The majority of businesses are not just going to have one persona either. So you may want to create different personas for, you know, maybe 2 to 4 of your core customer demographics. There's always going to be outliers. You're never going to be able to cover absolutely everyone. But broadly, for example, you know, let's say you're a travel company and you know that a big segment of your audience are retired couples who like to go on holiday together. But then another segment of your audience are families who want to go on holiday with their kids. Now, they're all going to book holidays through you, but the messaging you're going to want to speak to them with about their holiday, about things to do, about what they're going to enjoy, about the booking process, are going to be really, really different for those 2 demographics. So you want to make sure that you're speaking to each of them so that you don't lose the other one where they think, oh, that's just a company for like older people, or, oh, that's just a company for families. So you want to make sure that you are covering each of your core demographics. Now, what I see a lot is businesses just kind of making a guess and going, oh, we think our audience is this, we think our personas are this. And if you don't have data, if you're just trying to get your strategy off the ground, that's absolutely fine. But bear in mind that as you learn more about your customers, you are going to want to tweak those personas, following data, following real conversations. The kinds of data that you can be using are your Google Analytics to your website. That's going to give you some basic demographic information. Same with your social media audiences. Surveys are a brilliant way if you've got a customer list and you want to kind of be building your profiles, asking them about their challenges. Surveys are always a brilliant idea. You don't have to pay for some massively expensive survey tool. I just use Google Forms. It's absolutely fine. It collates all of the data and it's free. If you have loyal customers who you know to reach out to by name, giving them a call, interviewing them, actually asking them the questions that are in your persona can be really, really helpful, because then you have that direct insight. You can dig a bit deeper, you can ask some questions, and then you can use that to inform your marketing going forward. So any way to build a persona that works for you is the right way to do it. I worked with a company once who did possibly my favorite thing I've ever heard with personas, where their marketing team dressed up as the personas and acted them out in a role play with the rest of the team so they could ask them questions and they could respond as the customer. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. So whatever works to bring it to life for you and your teams, just go for it.
I think with the personas, there's always a fear that you kind of put in all the work and all the effort to create them, and then they kind of just go into a file somewhere or into a folder and you never kind of look at them again. How do you kind of get around putting in all the effort and then not actually utilizing all that work that you've put in?
Yeah, so this company that did the role play were brilliant. They had their personas stuck up all around their office. A really good way to bring it to life is to give them a name. So when you're creating content for that persona, you are actually envisioning speaking to someone that has a name. You can maybe pick a stock photo that embodies them, so you can picture a person that you're talking to and really get into their world and be creative with it. But the key thing is that every time you are planning your content, you are thinking, who is this for? Thinking back to which challenge and pain point does it answer for this person, and then using them as a tool to shape all of your content. So they really need to become part of your marketing toolkit as something that you keep representing to yourself, to your teams, and use it to inform the content that you're creating.
Perfect.
I saw a question come up from Jez as well. Do we want to do questions at the end, or
no, you can just jump in. So do you want to ask it directly, Jez, or do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, I was just thinking about when you actually at the start, this is great. But what if you actually don't know who your audience is? Do you actually go, I want to work with these sort of people?
Yeah, so there will be, so obviously you will know, unless you're just starting out, and you don't have any customers yet, if you've been established for a while, you will have insight into who your customers are. Not the customers that stress you out, not the clients that you find annoying, not the clients you dread working with. Think about your favorite clients and the clients that you want more of. That is a really great place to start, interviewing them, surveying them, and talking to them, because then if you attract more clients like them, you're going to be happier, that's going to directly benefit you and your business. Obviously, if you are completely just starting out, you don't have any clients yet, then working with your ideal client is a really, really brilliant way to do it. There will be people who you meet who are in your networks, when you start getting out there and networking again. Can't wait. It'll be brilliant. You will meet people who you think, God, I really want to work with this person. And have a chat to them, ask them what their challenges and their pain points are. You know, go out and ask these questions of people who represent the type of people who you want to work with, even if they're not your clients right now. And then even starting that relationship where you're asking them questions is going to be beneficial, because you might end up working with them later down the line.
Great. Kaylee's also got a question if you wanted to pop off mute, Kaylee.
Yeah, so we're a service-based business, and we work business to business, and we actually did some surveying of our customers a few months back now, where we were looking at pivoting some of our messaging and understanding why they chose to work with us, and we got some really strong feedback in regards to why they came to us and why they chose to work with us. But from a persona side, they were also different. And is that normal with B2B? Because I sat back and went, well, I don't know how to target them now. I know why they chose us, but I don't know how to find more of them, because they were all so diverse.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Your B2C and B2B customers are very different, because, you know, with B2C, it's so easy to kind of target based on demographic and interest, because you're thinking about, you know, are people in their leisure time, what they like to do, how they like to have fun. But with B2B, you, rather than kind of grouping people like based on age and demographic and all that sort of stuff, what we tend to do is group people based on job titles and seniority. So, you know, we're not so much thinking about, you know, who are they as, you know, as just kind of people out in the world, but who are they as, you know, marketing managers, as marketing executive, as CMOs, as company directors, as founders. Because, you know, a company director who is, you know, a young gay person in their 20s is going to have the same, you know, kind of concerns around running and operating a business as like an older straight person in their, you know, in their 50s. So you kind of want to be thinking about, when they come into work, when they are doing their job, what are the pain points and challenges within the workspace rather than within their lives.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that makes me feel more confident in that actually we do know who our customer is now.
Yeah.
I was trying to focus too much on, you know, where are they spending their leisure time and what are they doing. They were all so different, and because they obviously, you're right, the thing that connects them was their job and their pain points in their job, not
exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, perfect. So you've defined who your audience is. So the next point is thinking about reaching them. Now, a lot of people come to us really overwhelmed with their strategy, thinking, there's so many channels and I need to be on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and podcasts and and it's like, no, you need to be where your audience is. When you're thinking about prioritizing, you want to think about where your audience is. Another point is you also want to think about how much resource you have. Like, really, how much resource do you have to dedicate to your marketing? Because what you don't want to do is devise a marketing strategy which you don't have time and your team doesn't have time to implement. So your marketing strategy absolutely does not have to cover every single channel. You know, you need to prioritize where your core audience is. If you're B2B, for example, that's more likely to be LinkedIn and Twitter than it is Facebook and Instagram, although Instagram increasingly becoming better for B2B. You know, LinkedIn and Twitter are probably a safe place to start. You can also kind of, if you don't have all of that knowledge about the different platforms, there is so much information online around the demographic makeup of each social channel. So like, for example, if you are targeting people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, they're probably more likely to be on Facebook. Whereas if your audience are in their 20s, they're probably more likely to be on TikTok. You know, if you're thinking about podcasts, they're probably more likely to be listening to, you know, an older audience is probably more likely to be listening to more kind of traditional established. I'm making very sweeping generalizations here. I do not mean to be ageist in any way. But there will be, you know, people who are more likely to listen to, you know, very kind of intellectual podcasts that, you know, really talk about, you know, business type stuff and dig into challenges, whereas, you know, they're going to listen to much more kind of fun, comic, you know, dealing with kind of more kind of broad type of issues that you can think about maybe guesting on or advertising on. So really thinking about, as part of your persona work, matching up to what media you think these people are going to consume, and then prioritize your marketing strategy according to that. It's not just social media, it's about what magazines do they read online. There's lots of advertising opportunity with podcasts. Are they on YouTube? Are they searching YouTube videos? In which case you want to be putting video content up there. It may not be that straight away you can cover all of the channels that you want to cover, but it's much better to start with the priority channels, get them working for you really well, because you will get faster. They will start to come easier once you're doing it, and then start to add more in on top of that as you grow. So do not shoot yourself in the foot by trying to do absolutely everything all at once. A really great way to reach your audience as well is to pursue collaborations with businesses that are targeting the same audience. So they're not necessarily going to be in direct competition with you, but they may be offering a service and speaking to an audience that you also want to speak to. So, do they have a podcast you can guest on? Can you collaborate on an Instagram live with them? Can you collaborate on a virtual event? Can you collaborate on an in-person event? Can you collaborate with a product bundle offer? How can you get yourself in front of their audience and offer a compelling reason to them to want to get in front of your audience as well? And again, when it comes down to surveying your audience, don't guess what they want from you. Ask them and they will tell you.
But with regard to content and kind of the different platforms that you've kind of just described, can you use one piece of content across multiple platforms?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And again, this is kind of going more into tactics, but there will be certain best practice guidelines for each platform that you may want to adapt your content to, in terms of how, if you make, for example, a 5-minute video, which is really good, you might want to cut that down into a 60-second version that you can put out on Instagram, or a 2-minute version you can put out on Twitter, or, you might want to make the transcript of that video into a written blog post or a written guide. So, if you are limited in resource, that's a really great way to think about your content. Like, if I make this like one big piece of content, how can I then adapt it and chunk the content out for different channels?
Okay.
So now, creating content that works, because what you don't want to do is spend all this effort creating a whole bunch of content that doesn't get engagement from your audience. And the core kind of principles of great content are value, impact, and purpose. So, like we touched on earlier, you want content that speaks directly to your audience's challenges, barriers, and values. And crucially, when they see that content, they want to know that it is for them. If, people scroll their, a really great way when you're thinking about marketing is look at your own behavior. Like, how fast do you scroll your phone? Like, how quickly do you make decisions when you're scrolling LinkedIn or you're scrolling Instagram of what you watch, what you click on? And when you do stop and click on stuff, you can really think about why. Like, why did this content stop me? What was it about the way it looked? What was it about that first line that really spoke to me, that made me stop in my scrolling and engage? And that's how you can start to learn tactics and think about what you can experiment with and adapt it for your business. So starting with speaking directly to your audience challenges is great. Then you want to think about, what value does this content deliver to the person I'm creating it for? Am I creating content for the sake of it because I think, I've got to have content on my site with this keyword, which is not going to engage your audience? You want to be thinking, does it inform them about me and what I do and why I do what I do? Does it educate them about something that they need to know about? Does it entertain them? Is it funny? Is it like a satire? Is it a parody that, that they're going to engage with and and be entertained by. You know, there are lots of brands that go down the entertainment route to engage their customers, and it works for them. You know, whereas, you know, a lot of people, for example, you know, let's say you are, you know, an ethical fashion company. Well, the first thing you're going to be wanting to do is informing people about why ethical fashion is important and the impact of fast fashion on the planet, and, you know, maybe educating people about where they spend their money, about how they can repair their own clothes. You know, really, really thinking about your audiences and what their motivation would be to buy from you and how you can speak to that. You then want to think about impact and purpose. So this comes back to journalistic principles: why, what, how. You know, your who is your audience, then you've got your why, what, and your how. So why are you creating this content? What is it you want people to do when they see it? And how do you want them to feel? How do you want them to engage? How do you want them to react? So having that in mind when you're creating your content can really help you shape it. You know, do you want someone, are you creating this content as a why to inform people using the fashion company, you know, inform people about why ethical fashion is important? You know, when people read it, do you want them to share it? Do you want them to, you know, do you want them to buy from you? Do you want them to sign up to something? Do you want them to download something? How do you want them to feel after engaging with it? You know, do they want to feel like, oh my God, I have to share this with my network, this was so helpful? Or, oh, I have to send this to a specific person because I think it's gonna really help them. So really having that in mind when you're creating your content can help it be much more effective. And then finally, don't waste good content by not including a call to action. And, you know, you might see this abbreviated to CTA in marketing jargon, but a call to action basically means tell people what you want them to do after they've read your content. So, you know, sign up, download, read this blog post, read this guide, book a call with me, sign up to my newsletter. You know, be explicit in what you want people to do and show them the path to do it.
I think sometimes, like, you know, data is great, obviously, because it gives you kind of insights and direction, but sometimes you can kind of get slightly too bogged down in the data and forget that there's a person at the end of the data. And I think that's kind of really important in what you've just said. Like, you know, how do you want someone to feel and what are you expecting them to get from that piece of content, rather than, you know, putting the keywords in and making sure it goes out and it's this length. And, you know, you can kind of get a bit kind of bogged down in some of the strategic kind of facts and kind of how-tos, can't you, sometimes?
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, the way I always kind of describe my approach is it's intuitive but guided by data.
Yeah.
So, you know, data is only ever a guide. It's not a prescription. And like you said, like, you know, you will get to know your audience as humans. You will get to know what they like and dislike and how they respond and how they engage with you. So absolutely, you want to be picturing that, not just, you know, customers are not just demographics in your Google Analytics. They're not just, you know, pound signs on a spreadsheet. They are absolutely people. And, you know, use your intuition. Sometimes your intuition might be like, oh, the data's telling me this, but I've really got a feeling that we should be doing this. Like, go with your intuition, try it, experiment. You know, you're going to gain more data from experimenting as well. So it's never going to be a loss.
We've kind of taken elements of kind of what you've just said and put it into kind of how our actual accounting staff work. So I think, like, it makes their job much more interesting now because they take much more notice and awareness in the jobs that they're working on. They don't just see them as figures on a spreadsheet. They kind of see them as a person, as a business who's got kind of aspirations and kind of goals, and that kind of helps them kind of immerse themselves more and makes their job more interesting. So it can kind of translate across a few areas of the business, which is good.
Absolutely. And then I just wanted to put a slide in here about thought leadership, because this, you know, this kind of fits in with that real, like, value and impact content. So essentially, thought leadership is content that demonstrates your knowledge, focuses on your area of expertise. So, you know, Kaylee, you mentioned you're a service-based business. thought leadership is essential for service-based businesses because people are buying your expertise, they're buying your knowledge, they want to trust you and know that you can help them to solve their problem in a really intelligent way. So thought leadership is content that really positions you as that expert, shows you know what you're talking about, and offers your unique perspective of how you approach these problems, which are perhaps different to other people within your field. So I've got some stats in here that show, these are from LinkedIn, that show just how important thought leadership is. So 54% of decision makers in Europe say they use thought leadership as a way to vet organizations they're considering working with. So over half of decision makers are actively looking for content that shows you know what you're talking about. However, only 25% of businesses think that thought leadership content is going to help them close business. So there's a big gap there, especially when you consider that decision makers, only 14% of them rate the thought leadership they say as excellent or very good. So, go and look at what content is out there within your industry. A really, really good sign is if you're looking at it and going, well, that's wrong. Well, I could do better than that. Like, if you're having that feeling about content, you can do better than that. So, get it out there and go for it. And yeah, it really will pay off from a business sense, as you can see. And then a really important bit of your marketing strategy, which is quite often overlooked, is that content to be successful really needs community. So, in the olden days of advertising, there was no social media. There was no way of engaging with your customers en masse. You would just broadcast a message out, people would see it, and they would come to you. That's not how marketing works anymore. You really, really need to be talking to your community. So when you're putting content out on social, ask questions, request people's input, ask them what they think, get little polls out there. If people are engaging with your content and leaving comments, make sure you reply to them. Don't ignore them. Show that you are interested in them and start to build those relationships. If they have a positive encounter with you, they might not buy from you directly, but they might recommend you to someone else on the basis of having a positive encounter with you. And this is absolutely the social element of social media, because without a community, it's just media, it's just broadcast media, and it's not engaging. It's a two-way street as well. So rather than just putting your own content out there and responding to your own engagements, share with your audience's content. Celebrate your clients. If you're a service-based business, celebrate their wins, celebrate their successes, amplify their content as well. Share content and articles from other publications and other influencers that are aligned to your way of thinking. These collaborators and people you're already working with are an essential part of your community, as well as your prospective customers and your wider audiences. And your community absolutely is made up of not only your customers, but also these people who I always refer to as champions or cheerleaders. So these are the people that might not directly buy from you, but they amplify your content because it aligns with your values and you have similar audiences. So, as well as thinking about, who do I want to be my champion? Whose champion can you be? What other brands do you really admire that are aligned to what you're saying, that you think your customers will be really interested in? And think about how you can amplify their content as well. And then they'll probably return the favor because people are nice.
I think that community is a massive kind of part, isn't it? It's creating, like you say, your client community, your prospective community, and your kind of contact community, and merging them all together as kind of best as you can. I think it's just the time, isn't it, that it kind of takes to build the community with kind of authenticity. You want to kind of be present, more than once a week. It's got to kind of be a natural, kind of organic, kind of authentic, that takes time. And when it's kind of your own business, with just you or maybe a couple of kind of employees, that's quite difficult, I think, to kind of do in the beginning. But it's definitely essential. Yeah.
I mean, the way that I normally suggest to do it is to build in time to check your social media in the same way as you check your emails. So when you sit down to check your emails, you check your social media comments, you check your inboxes, you know, it's still a communication channel, and then build that into your email time. Definitely don't let it encroach on all your barriers. So set certain times aside and time limits for checking your social media will really help. And then just when you're scrolling, like, you can save stuff for later. You know, if you know there's a piece you want to share, you know, every single social media platform has a save function of some kind. You know, like Instagram, Facebook, you can add it to lists, you can come back to it later, and then you're always building up a bank of content that when you want to share something, you've got this list that you can go in and share from. So, you know, again, there's no right way to do it, but it's thinking about how can I fit this time into my daily routine in a way that doesn't feel like a chore, and that what can just become part of my everyday.
Yeah, I think it's massively important, like you said, to kind of share kind of client wins as well, because I think, like, you put a lot of focus on winning new kind of clients and selling yourself to a new audience when you've kind of got this existing audience that loves you already and are willing to work with you, and it's making sure that you kind of still engage and kind of shout and communicate with them as best as you can. We always try to, when we get kind of a new client, make sure we follow them on all of their social platforms, just so we can then kind of see what they're up to, which makes it easier. And that's something that we never really did, maybe because social media wasn't as huge kind of a few years ago, but it's much more active, and kind of that's where you're going to see what they're up to.
Definitely. And like on Twitter, for example, you can create private lists that no one can see but you could create a private list of all of your clients. So then you can just go in and check that list and see what your clients are doing, you know, see if someone on their team is like raising money for charity because they're running a marathon, or, you know, see if they've got a new product or initiative that they're trying to promote, and give them a hand. And that way you don't get distracted by people that are not your clients, because they're in that list.
That's a good tip, actually. I don't think I've got one of those. I'll do that.
What's a buyer journey? That's a good question. Again, like, how do you build an audience persona? If you look at how do you build a buyer journey, you will see so many different templates. So again, you want to think about what works for you. The most common steps of a buyer journey that I see are awareness stage, consideration stage, decision stage, and loyalty stage. So when you know who your audience personas are, you want to think about how they come into contact with you and how they make their decisions at each one of these stages. And identify where you might be losing people. So, you know, do loads of people read your blog posts, for example, but then you never hear from them again? They just bounce off your site. Then you probably haven't got enough consideration content. You know, do people come to your site, maybe download some free resources? You can see they're reading multiple pages, but then they don't buy from you. In which case, you're probably lacking content around your decision. If your customers come and buy from you and then you never see them again, you're probably lacking content around your loyalty. So it's a really good way to be thinking, like, how do I cater to my clients at each stage of this journey? I normally do mine in like a spreadsheet. So I'll have like my clients, my personas down the side, and then like awareness, consideration, decision, loyalty across the top. And then just think about what type of content they want in each box. Broadly, awareness is people finding out that you can meet their need. So they find out you exist and they find out what you do, which is what you want any piece of content to at the least tell people. Consideration is where they're thinking about buying from you. So they know you can meet their need, but they maybe also know that there are a few other companies that can meet their need. And they're wanting to get to know you a bit better to help them make that decision about whether it's for you, whether it's for them. Decision is actually buying from you, engaging your services. or buying a product. And then loyalty is not only coming back for more products, coming back to work with you again, but also recommending you to other people. And then that feeds more people in to the awareness. So there's really another arrow kind of coming from loyalty back to awareness as well. And crucially, what happens when you align your content to the buyer journey is it helps move your customers from one stage to another, from discovering you exist to becoming a loyal customer. So, for example, an awareness piece of content might be, I'm going to just keep using the ethical fashion example because that's in my head. Awareness might be, a blog post on the importance of ethical fashion, or, content around, issues within the fashion industry that we need to address. And then they come to your site, they see that that's written by you. They then go and kind of look at your products through that. They kind of read all of your product descriptions. Again, your product descriptions on your site, your service descriptions, that's all content. It's all content that people are going to consume. It might be content around, how long your products last, what they're made of, how you source your materials. So all, content that relates directly back to your products and services. And then decision will be content that helps them make a decision. So for example, a really comprehensive and engaging FAQs page is a great decision tool because you're directly answering barriers to purchase that you get from people. There might be other ways that you can aid decision making, like money back guarantees, or you're making your refund processes front and center, directly, like with a service-based business or like a piece of software. A really common piece of decision a really common piece of decision making content is like a comparison table with other competitors. So anything that is going to help people go, yes, I want to buy this and I feel safe buying this and safe making this decision. And then loyalty could be, refer a friend schemes. It could be encouraging customer reviews. It could be loyalty schemes. It could be discounts for next services. And, all of these things are part of your marketing journey. Like it's, a lot of people kind of think of marketing content as being your blog posts and your social media posts and your advertising. But that is just one part of your marketing. That's just the awareness. That's the big part where you kind of, you're seeing the high numbers. But, a well-constructed FAQs page, well-written product descriptions, well-written service descriptions, offers, all of this stuff is part of your marketing strategy as well. And that's what feeds people through the journey.
That was a really good explanation, actually. I like the idea of the spreadsheet with the personas down the sides and those headings at the top. That kind of gives you a really kind of clear kind of way to define and kind of understand the different elements of content that you can potentially do. That was really good.
Yeah, that's a really good way to audit your existing content as well, is if you map the content you've already got and where it goes, you'll see where the gaps are in your content journey.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
And then the final piece of the puzzle is all of this work I've put in actually working. I could do like a whole, and have done a whole half-day training session on analytics, but we want to fit this into a short thing. So I'm not going to kind of go into the the specifics of what each of these metrics are on all the different channels, but just broadly, I wanted to give you a sense of the type of metrics that are going to indicate the success of content at each stage of your buyer journey. So first of all, awareness. So getting who you are out there and reaching people. So you're going to want to look at reach. So the amount of people who are seeing, watching, hearing your content on any channel. So like podcast listens, social media views, video views, all that kind of stuff. Blog post views. Impressions, the amount of time your content is seen, watched, and heard on any channel. So for example, there's a metric that's, banded about a lot in marketing, which is it takes someone seeing a piece of content 7 times or encountering a brand 7 times before they make a decision. don't know how true that is now in the digital world we're in, particularly over the last year when we've literally only had digital to engage with, but I know that that's a commonly cited metric. So, you know, reach, you might see that you're, you know, reaching a certain number of people, but then impressions show that you are reaching those people again and again and again with different content. Then we come on to engagement. So engagement is people actually taking an action when they see your content. So this is clicks, likes, comments, shares, anything like that. They are actively, they see your content and they take an action to find out more about you or engage further. Engagement rate is the number of engagements as a percentage of the number of impressions. So, you know, just engagement numbers are arbitrary. You want to look at that in relation to how many people are seeing my content versus how many people are engaging with it. You know, generally, I mean, an engagement rate of 1 to 2% is kind of average. So if you're getting anything better than that, then you are doing well. Thinking to a cold audience. And then moving down to decision, this is conversions. So this is people, you know, not just kind of engaging and taking, you know, like a low impact action. It's they're actually doing something that takes an effort. So they're signing up for something, they are downloading something, they are completing a form, they are making a purchase, they are filling out a form to contact you, they are booking in a call. You know, they are actually doing the thing you want them to do when they see and engage with the content. And then again, your conversion rate is the number of conversions as a percentage of the number of impressions as well. So you can track that.
Should you be kind of worried if a piece of content that you've kind of worked, you know, hard on doesn't have any engagement? Should you kind of go back and look at that content and kind of think, well, why? Like, have I kind of got the wrong end of the stick, or is it kind of okay to kind of rewrite something and kind of go again?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say don't scrap anything you've put effort into. But, you know, what you can do is experiment with different, you know, different headlines and different, you know, different opening paragraphs. If it's not working, you can place your call to actions differently if they're not working, and really play around with it. If you've got a marketing, you know, if you are using a piece of like software like, you know, ClickFunnels or HubSpot, they're really helpful in that they offer A/B testing of different page variations. So you can test different variations against each other. You know, if you're running Facebook ads, let's say for an example of and you want people to click through to a blog post, within the Facebook ad, you can try out 5 different headlines to see which one gets the most clicks, and then change, and then whichever one gets the most clicks, you can actually change that to the headline on your, you know, on your page if you want. So, you know, I would say never just go back to the drawing board, never scrap anything. Look back at the information you have, you know, is this actually speaking to a challenge of this audience? Would I benefit for just sending it to a few people for feedback and asking them, you know, do I, you know, is the call to action in the wrong place? Does it need to be higher up the page? Does it need to be more obvious? You know, is this actually at the right stage of the buyer journey? And could I make a tweak so that it fits somewhere else? So, you know, never kind of stop questioning. You always want to be, you know, gathering data. You always want to be, you know, learning as much as you can from the content you create. But, you know, if you persistently see a tactic that you are employing not working, no matter what you do, then yes, drop the tactic.
Give up. Yeah.
But normally there's stuff to be learned, and there's tweaks that you can make easily enough. And, you know, like I said earlier, you can format your content in different ways. So if you have a piece of content and you do a podcast around it and write a blog post about it and make a video about it, look at which one has the most engagement and success, and then use more of that in your strategy going forward. But, you know, there's a reason why, you know, marketing is a slow burner. You're not just going to launch a new marketing strategy and see success overnight. You know, you need kind of 3 to 6 months, I would say at least, of consistent trying and gathering data and making mistakes and learning. Like a strategy like this is a long-term investment. It's not a quick win tactic. But, you know, we have seen time and again with clients we've worked with that, you know, if you hold fast for that 3 to 6 months and you learn what you can, then you just take off.
That's great. With regards to like downloads, kind of data capture things on websites, we've always had like a fear that it kind of puts people off. You know, we'd rather just kind of give them the content. But, you know, obviously, if you're then capturing data to enable the download, you're then obviously having the best of both worlds, and they're kind of slightly warmer along the kind of the buying journey. Is there kind of like a happy medium as to how much content like you should kind of share and kind of keep behind a capture form?
Yeah, I would say really look at the value of that content, and, you know, is this worth an email address to someone to have the value that and if the answer is no, my question will probably be, well, why are you putting that content out there in the first place if it's not even valuable enough to warrant someone giving you an email address?
That's true.
But I don't think it puts people off. And, you know, I think that if someone isn't willing to provide their email address in order to access a piece of content, then the likelihood they're going to buy from you after downloading that content for free is probably pretty nil. But, you know, it absolutely, you know, it doesn't, you know, I would say put people off. I see someone's making a comment about GDPR as well. I mean, most of the, you know, like your MailChimps and your kind of automated email software, they now automate the GDPR disclosure within forms. So it, you know, it's pretty easy to stay on the right side of the law there. Just make sure that you are putting people into the right list, and if they say they don't want to be contacted any further, then you do not contact them any further.
Thank you. End of the slides. I was just getting stuck in then. Is there any questions from anybody kind of in the group that they wanted to share, or any comments that they wanted to share? Please feel free.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Thank you. And why aren't you doing more of this on social media? Because I want some more.
We will be.
I mean, kind of seriously. I know that sounds naughty, but it was really good.
Thank you.
And very pithy, and made complete sense. And I'd love to see you two pop up from time to time in any guise, really, whether it's textual or video or whatever, or podcasts, or I know you've done a bit, but it would be fab, because that would be massive value.
It's very funny you say that, Jez, because we are working on this very thing right now.
Just send me the check later.
I will do.
I think, just a massive thank you to you, Alice. I mean, I've kind of followed your career over the past few years, being at Plus Accounting, and it's kind of great to see like the Joyful really kind of come into its own, and kind of, it's a really great kind of business and kind of ethos and mentality. And I recently kind of attended the Wide Sussex LinkedIn session that you did, and we got so many kind of practical kind of tips from that we're now implementing as a business. Hence why I kind of reached out to you and Sophie to kind of do this one within our workshop program, because I just think the practical kind of elements from kind of what you explain are just really, really great for any business of any size. And I'm looking forward to your Instagram one as well, kind of in a few next week, I think it is, isn't it? So
on the 5th, whenever that is, for literally the last year and a bit, I generally have no idea what date it is on any day.
No concept of time.
I don't know when August is. June.
I don't know if there's any other questions that anybody wants to take this opportunity to ask Alice. Anything else from anybody else? I don't think there is. No. Well, thank you very much, Alice. As I said, it was great to have you kind of join us on this event. Oh, we've just got another message. Let me just see what that is.
Oh, that's
Oh,
Anna
there you go.
plugging the Wired Sussex event next week.
That's
Well
good.
done, Anna.
Yeah, if you want to join for that one, that's
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah, so if you want to book onto that one, there's the link happily provided by Anna. That's great. Yeah, so unless there's anything else that anybody wants to say, just want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you to Alice for a very insightful whistle-stop tour of kind of marketing fundamentals. Could have gone on for much longer, I'm sure, into all of the individual elements, but I think
do like a full day workshop on each of these individual elements.
Well, I think it kind of just gives you kind of little kind of tips and kind of insights where you kind of trigger and you go, oh yeah, that would work for that, or I should do that, or I could do that. So I mean, it's great, and I'm sure there's scribbles and bits on notepads that everyone's now got to kind of work on. So very much appreciated. So thank you once again, Alice, and thank you to everyone else for joining us. I've been Vicky from Plus Accounting, and we hope to see you at a future event that we're hosting. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Victoria.
Bye.
Bye-bye.